Hotel owner disguises himself as a guest just to hear the receptionist's secret. Robert Harrison was breathing heavily as he held the anonymous envelope that had arrived that morning. The handwritten words had unsettled him for 3 days. Your receptionist is keeping a secret that could destroy everything your family built over 3 generations. That's when he decided to disguise himself as an ordinary guest and approach the front desk where Amanda Parker worked. Wearing his casual beige jacket, he pretended to know nothing about the Heritage Inn, the legacy left by his grandfather that had started as a small lodge in Aspen and was now one of the most respected in the region. "Good afternoon. I'd like to make a reservation," he said, trying to keep his voice natural. Amanda greeted him with the professional smile she always wore, but Robert noticed something different. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed on the computer, and she avoided making direct eye contact. "Of course, sir. For how many people and how many nights?" she asked, focusing on the screen. "Just me for a week," Robert replied, watching her every move. As she prepared the paperwork, the phone rang. Amanda answered quickly, lowering her voice. "I can't keep doing this," she whispered into the phone before hanging up abruptly. Robert felt a chill in his stomach. Those words confirmed his suspicions that something was going on in his hotel. He signed the register with a fake name and took the key to his room, determined to find out what Amanda was hiding. For the next 3 days, Robert kept up his act. He discreetly observed Amanda, noticing that after her shift, she didn't leave right away. Instead, she took the elevator to the 3rd floor and stayed there for nearly an hour. That Thursday, Robert decided to follow her. He took the stairs when he saw her enter the elevator. On the 3rd floor, he watched her stop in front of room 307 and pull a key from her purse. She entered the room, which should have been empty. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. Robert waited a few minutes before approaching the door. Through the gap beneath it, he could see the light was on. He heard shuffling noises, then silence. After 40 minutes, Amanda stepped out of the room, her eyes red as if she'd been crying. The next day, Robert saw something that puzzled him even more. An elderly woman with white hair, around 70 years old, arrived at the hotel in the late afternoon. Amanda greeted her differently, more affectionately, and discreetly handed her an envelope. "Mrs. Catherine, how are you feeling today?" Amanda asked, holding the woman's hands. "Better, dear. You don't need to worry so much about me," the woman replied weakly. Robert hid behind a pillar in the lobby, watching the exchange. Something about it made him even more suspicious. Why was Amanda giving envelopes to this woman? Was it money? He decided to talk to Ms. Betty, the hotel's longest-serving employee, who had worked in housekeeping for over 20 years. "Ms. Betty, can I ask you something?" Robert said, approaching her in the hallway. "Of course, sir," she replied, pausing her cleaning. "That receptionist, Amanda, has she worked here long?" Ms. Betty glanced around to make sure they were alone. 5 years, sir. A model employee, never caused any trouble. In fact, she was the only one who stayed during that mess a few years back." "What mess?" Robert asked, trying not to sound too eager. "You didn't hear. There was an attempt to sell the hotel. The staff got worried and many left to find other jobs. But Amanda said she wouldn't abandon the hotel, that she had a promise to keep." Robert felt his heart race. A promise? What promise could that be? That afternoon, he decided to follow Amanda to the hotel's old records room in the basement. She went down using her employee key and stayed there for over an hour. When Robert found a way to go down unseen, he found the door slightly ajar. Through the glass, he saw her sitting on the floor surrounded by old documents, crying silently. She held yellowed papers and old photos, running her fingers over them carefully. Robert tried to get closer to see what she was reading, but he stepped on a loose floorboard that creaked. Amanda turned quickly and saw him. "Mr. Harrison," she exclaimed, standing up and wiping her tears. "What are you doing here?" "I got lost looking for the exit," Robert lied. Amanda stared at him for a few seconds, then her expression changed completely. "You don't have to lie anymore, Mr. Robert Harrison," she said firmly. "I've known who you are since the day you arrived." Robert froze. How had she found out? "I've worked at this hotel for 5 years. I know everyone who comes and goes. Besides, you look just like your father when he was younger. There are photos of him all over the hotel." "If you know who I am, then explain what's going on," Robert said, dropping the act. Amanda took a deep breath, still clutching the old papers. "My father worked at this hotel for 30 years, she began, her voice trembling. "He was unfairly fired by the previous management, just months before you took over." "Fired? Why?" Robert asked, genuinely surprised. "For reporting the old manager's misconduct. My father discovered Victor Thompson was embezzling money from suppliers and falsifying invoices." Robert knew Victor Thompson. He had been the hotel's general manager for 10 years before Robert took over. He'd fired Victor months later over management disagreements but never knew the details. "And the anonymous letters?" Robert asked. "What letters?" Amanda seemed genuinely confused. Robert pulled the envelope from his pocket. "Someone wrote to me saying you were hiding a secret that could destroy the hotel." Amanda read the letter and her face paled. "This handwriting, it's Victor's," she said, shaking. "He's trying to ruin me again." "Again?" "He never forgave me for uncovering his fraud. When my father reported him, Victor spread lies claiming my father was stealing too. That's why he was fired." Robert felt a wave of anger and guilt at once. His own father had fired Amanda's father based on false accusations. "But why did you keep working here after all that?" he asked. Amanda held up the old papers again. "Because of him," she said, showing a yellowed photo. In it, Robert recognized his grandfather, the hotel's founder, standing beside a younger man in uniform. "My father, William Parker," Amanda said. "He started working here at 16. Your grandfather taught him everything about hospitality. They grew very close over the years." Robert took the photo and studied William Parker's face. There was something familiar about him, as if he'd seen him before. "The night before he was fired, my father collapsed here at the hotel. It was in room 307. He was working late, trying to organize evidence of Victor's fraud, when he passed out." "The room you visit every day," Robert realized. "Yes, I keep it clean with fresh flowers. I pay from my own salary, so it's never rented to guests. It's my way of honoring him." "And the woman who comes here, Mrs. Catherine?" "That's my mother," Amanda replied, lowering her head. "She's sick. She has a degenerative condition that requires expensive treatments. The hotel's health insurance should cover it, but they always find ways to deny the claims." "And the envelopes you give her?" "Part of my salary, to pay for the medications and appointments the insurance doesn't cover." Robert felt terrible. Here was an exemplary employee, caring for her sick mother and honoring her father's memory with her own money, while he had suspected her of plotting against his family. Amanda kept sorting through the documents and pulled out an older piece of paper with cursive handwriting. "There's something I've never told anyone," she said hesitantly. "What is it?" "I found this among my father's belongings when he passed away last year. It's a letter from your grandfather." Robert took the paper carefully. It was indeed his grandfather's handwriting. He recognized the elegant script from old family documents. The letter read, "William, my loyal friend, you've saved this hotel more times than I can count. Your dedication and honesty are an example to us all. When I'm no longer here, I hope my descendants recognize the immeasurable value of your contribution to our family." "There's more," Amanda said, pulling out another document. It was a handwritten will, also in Robert's grandfather's writing, dated just months before his passing. The document clearly stated that William Parker should receive a percentage of the hotel's profits in recognition of his 40 years of loyal service. Robert read it 3 times, stunned. "Why did you never reveal this?" "Because it's not notarized. And even if it were, I didn't want to cause trouble for your family. My father always said honor is worth more than money." "But you have a right to this. Your family has a right." "I don't want rights, Mr. Harrison. I just want to keep my father's memory alive and take care of my mother." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Robert spent the rest of the afternoon in the archives with Amanda, listening to stories about his grandfather and William Parker. She showed old photos of hotel events where the two were always side by side, planning improvements and celebrating achievements. "Your father saved the hotel from a fire in 1987, Amanda said, showing newspaper clippings. "He was working late when a fire broke out in the kitchen. He evacuated all the guests and contained it until the firefighters arrived." Robert vaguely remembered hearing this story as a child, but never knew William Parker had been the hero that night. And here Amanda pulled out another document, a thank you letter from foreign guests who were impressed by his service in 1995. There were dozens of similar letters over the years. William Parker had truly dedicated his life to the Harrison family's hotel. That night, Robert barely slept. By morning, he decided to speak with Miss Betty again. "Miss Betty, tell me more about William Parker," he asked. "Oh, sir, Mr. William was a special man," she said, her eyes shining. "He knew every employee's name, helped those in trouble, mentored the younger ones. When we heard he was being fired, it broke our hearts. And Victor Thompson. That man was always trouble, sir. He mistreated employees, only cared about lining his own pockets. When Mr. William uncovered his schemes, Victor panicked and spread lies to protect himself." "Where can I find Victor now?" "I heard he opened a small lodge nearby, but it's not doing well. People in town know what he's like." Robert decided to confront Victor. He found the address of his lodge and went there the next morning. The Mountain View Lodge was a small, poorly kept establishment. Victor Thompson was at the reception desk, older and looking weary. "Robert Harrison," said Victor without showing surprise. "I figured you'd come here one day. Was it you who sent the anonymous letters?" "Yes," Victor admitted without hesitation. "And I'd do it again." "Why?" "Because that girl is slowly destroying your family just like her father did." "That's a lie. I know the truth about you and William Parker." "Truth?" Victor let out a bitter laugh. "The truth is, William Parker found out I was making some adjustments to the books to increase the hotel's profits. Of course, I kept a portion, but the hotel also benefited." "You were stealing." "I was being creative, and it worked. The hotel never had higher profits than under my management." "And that's why you accused William of theft too?" "He was going to report me. I had to protect myself. It was him or me." Robert felt disgusted by Victor's coldness. "And now you want to harm his daughter? Why?" "Because she knows too much. She always has. Even as a young intern, she watched everything, asking questions." "She was underage?" 16. Worked during school breaks to help her family. Too clever for her own good. Robert realized Amanda had witnessed Victor's misconduct as a teenager. That's why he feared her speaking out. "Those letters you sent won't accomplish anything, Victor. Amanda is an exemplary employee." "We'll see," Victor said with a malicious smile. "I've sent others to investigate too." "What others?" "Some acquaintances in auditing. They'll find irregularities in her work, even if they have to fabricate them." Robert left Victor's lodge even more worried. He needed to protect Amanda from any sabotage being planned. Back at the hotel, he looked for her at the reception. "I need to talk to you, in private." She followed him to his office, visibly nervous. "Amanda, I spoke with Victor Thompson today." "You went to see him?" she asked, startled. "Yes. He admitted to sending the anonymous letters and said he might try other ways to harm you." "I always suspected he'd try something like this," she said with a sigh. "Why didn't you ever come to me with the truth about what happened to your father?" "Because you were so young when you took over the hotel, only 25, grieving your father and trying to learn how to manage everything. I didn't want to burden you with past problems." Robert remembered how lost he'd felt in those early years. It truly wouldn't have been easy to handle such a complex situation. "But now, I know everything, and I want to make things right." "What do you mean?" "First, I'll implement a full healthcare plan covering your mother's treatment. Second, room 307 won't be rented anymore. We'll turn it into a memorial for your father." Amanda began to cry. "Mr. Robert, I never expected this." "And there's more. I want to promote you to general manager of the hotel." "Me? But I don't have a college degree." "You have 5 years of hands-on experience and know this hotel better than anyone. Plus, I'll pay for you to take a hospitality management course. I don't know what to say. Say yes, this hotel needs someone who loves it as much as you do. Amanda agreed, still emotional. But Robert had one more surprise. And about my grandfather's will, even though it wasn't registered, I'll honor his wishes. You'll become a minority partner in the hotel with a share of the profits. Mr. Robert, this is too much. It's the least I can do after all the years your family has dedicated to our business. In the following weeks, Robert implemented all the promised changes. The expanded health plan was approved, and Mrs. Catherine could finally receive all the necessary treatments. Room 307 was renovated and transformed into a beautiful break room for the staff, with a bronze plaque honoring William Parker, an exemplary employee who dedicated his life to the Heritage Inn. Amanda took over as general manager and quickly proved that Robert had made the right choice. She implemented new procedures that increased both guest satisfaction and employee well-being. But Victor Thompson didn't give up on his attempts at sabotage. 2 weeks after the changes, 2 men arrived at the hotel claiming to be auditors. "We're from Audit and Management," one of them said. "We received an anonymous complaint about financial irregularities at this establishment." Robert knew these were the contacts Victor had mentioned. "Of course, you're welcome to audit whatever you'd like," Robert said confidently. Amanda accompanied the auditors for 3 days, presenting all requested documents. The impeccable organization of the files and the transparency of the processes impressed even the auditors hired to find problems. "We've never seen accounting so well organized," one whispered to the other, thinking no one was listening. "Are you sure this is where we're supposed to find irregularities?" the other asked. Robert discreetly recorded the conversation and later confronted the two. "May I ask who hired you for this audit?" he asked directly. The men exchanged uncomfortable glances. "It was an anonymous request," one lied. "Then you may leave. We won't tolerate any more attempts to defame this hotel." The fake auditors left without finding a single irregularity. However, Victor tried one last move. He spread rumors through town that the Heritage Inn was in financial trouble and would soon close. The gossip reached some regular guests who cancelled their bookings out of concern. "We need to do something," Amanda told Robert. "These rumors are hurting our business. How about we organize a special event to show the hotel is stronger than ever?" "What kind of event?" "A dedication ceremony for your father's memorial, inviting the entire local community." Amanda loved the idea. They planned an elegant event for a Saturday afternoon, inviting local officials, area business owners, and long-time hotel staff. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. On the day of the event, over 200 people attended. Robert gave a heartfelt speech about the importance of loyal employees and William Parker's legacy. William Parker embodied the values we uphold at this hotel. Honesty, dedication, and love for what we do, Robert told the crowd. When it was time for Mrs. Catherine to cut the ribbon for the memorial, she was visibly moved, but looked much healthier thanks to the treatments she could finally receive. "My husband would be so proud to see how his daughter is honoring our family's name," she said firmly. The ceremony was a complete success. Several local business owners congratulated Robert on the initiative, and some even offered partnerships. But the most special moment was when Ms. Betty approached Amanda. "My dear, your father is smiling down from heaven, watching you run this hotel," she said, hugging Amanda. After the event, Robert and Amanda met in the office to review the results. "I think we've turned the rumors around," Robert said. "More than that. We've shown the whole town what kind of place this hotel truly is. Amanda, there's something I'd like to ask you. Feel free. Why did you really stay here all these years, even though you were so young when you started, even after everything that happened with your father?" Amanda thought for a few seconds before answering. "When I was little, my father would bring me here during school breaks. I was fascinated watching how he handled every detail, how he knew every guest by name, how he solved any problem with a smile. And one day, when I was about 12, I asked him why he loved working here so much. He told me, Amanda, a hotel isn't just a place where people sleep. It's where they create memories, where they celebrate special moments, where they find comfort when they're far from home. We're responsible for making people's lives a little better. And you took that to heart. When he was unfairly fired, I was furious. But then I realized the best way to honor what he taught me was to keep caring for this place as he would have. Even knowing you could have an easier life with another job. Mr. Harrison, some promises are worth more than money. I promised my father I'd never let this hotel lose the soul he helped build. Robert was moved by Amanda's answer. Now he understood why the hotel had maintained its excellent reputation even during the hard years. A few weeks later, unexpected news arrived. Victor Thompson had closed his lodge and left town. I heard he couldn't get any more guests after people found out about the rumors he spread, Miss Betty shared. The truth always comes out, Amanda remarked. By the way, I got an interesting letter today, Robert said, showing her an envelope. It was from a hotel group in New York City, offering a multi-million-dollar proposal to buy the Heritage Inn. A very tempting offer, Amanda commented, reading the figures. And do you know what my first thought was? Robert asked. What? Thinking about what my grandfather would say, and what your father would say. They built this place with love, not to be sold to the highest bidder. What will you tell them? That the Heritage Inn is not for sale. It never will be. Amanda smiled, knowing Robert had truly understood the real value of this place. In the following months, the hotel thrived like never before. The new people-focused management Amanda implemented attracted talented staff and guests who became true ambassadors of the brand. William Parker's memorial became a point of interest for guests who often asked about the hotel's history. Robert and Amanda turned this into an opportunity to showcase the company's values. Our difference isn't just the facilities, Amanda explained to new employees. It's the care we show every person who walks through these doors. One day, a special letter arrived addressed to Amanda. It was from an elderly guest who had stayed at the hotel during a difficult time in her life. Dear Amanda, I want to thank you for the kindness you showed me during my stay. I was going through a very hard time, feeling invisible and unimportant, but you made me feel special. You remembered my name, asked about my family, and cared when I seemed sad. You turned what could have been just another week into an experience that restored my hope. This hotel has a special soul, and I'm sure it comes from people like you. Robert was there when Amanda read the letter and saw her eyes fill with tears. This is why we do what we do, she said, to touch people's lives in a positive way. Your father would be very proud, Robert said. I hope so, and I hope your grandfather is proud of you too. Why? Because you could have fired me when you found out about the envelopes, about room 307, about everything, but you chose to understand, forgive, and build something better. Robert reflected on the journey they had taken together. From suspicion and misunderstandings, they had built a partnership based on trust and shared values. Amanda, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Have you never thought about getting married, having your own family? I have, actually. I've even been dating someone for 2 years. Really? I never knew that. I keep my personal life very private, but he's a special person. He understands my dedication to the hotel. How did you meet? He's a nurse at the clinic where my mother gets treatment. He was the one who cared for her during her first appointments, back when I didn't have the right health insurance. And he doesn't mind your long hours? Actually, he admires me for it. He says it's rare to find someone so passionate about what they do. Robert was happy to hear Amanda had found someone who valued her. When do we get to meet him officially? Maybe at the hotel's Christmas party. If you don't mind, I'd like to invite him. Of course. In fact, how about he helps organize a preventive health program for our staff? With his medical experience. That would be a wonderful idea. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Mrs. Catherine, who had come for her weekly visit to the hotel. Since starting proper treatment, she had regained much of her vitality and often helped organize special events. My dear, I brought the sweets I promised for the front desk, she said, carrying a basket. Mom, I told you not to worry about that. Nonsense. I like contributing. This hotel is part of our family now. Robert watched the interaction between mother and daughter fondly. Mrs. Catherine had become a beloved figure among the staff, always offering words of encouragement and small gestures of kindness. "Mrs. Catherine, may I speak with you for a moment?" Robert asked. "Of course, my dear." They stepped a few feet away from Amanda. "How do you feel about all the changes that have happened?" "I'm so grateful to God and to you for everything. But do you know what makes me happiest?" "What?" "Seeing my daughter truly smiling. For years there was sadness in her eyes, even when she smiled. Now she's genuinely happy. She deserves that happiness." "She does. But so do you, my dear. I've seen how you've changed these past months. You're lighter, more confident." Robert reflected on Mrs. Catherine's words. He really did feel different. The hotel was no longer just an inherited business, but a life project that gave him purpose. That evening, Robert decided to visit the memorial for William Parker in room 307. The space looked beautiful. A framed photo of William, some of his personal belongings in a display case, and always fresh flowers. He sat in the comfortable armchair they had placed there and thought about everything that had happened. "William, I hope you're proud of your daughter," he said softly. "She's everything you taught her to be and more." Just then, Amanda appeared at the door. "Sorry to interrupt. I saw the light on and wanted to make sure everything was okay." "I was just talking to your father," Robert said without hesitation. "He heard you," Amanda replied, smiling. "I'm sure of it." "Amanda, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "When I got that first anonymous letter, I was terrified. I thought I'd uncover some terrible betrayal, that the hotel was in danger." "And did you?" "I discovered that my family had committed a terrible injustice against yours. I discovered there was an extraordinary employee I hadn't truly known. And I discovered that sometimes the best surprises come disguised as problems. You were also a surprise to me." "How so?" "I was very afraid that when you found out about room 307, about the envelopes, about everything, you'd react badly. I thought I'd lose my job." "And why didn't you lose hope?" "Because my father always told me that good people recognize other good people. I had hoped that you'd be like your grandfather." "And am I?" "Even better. Because you had the courage to correct the mistakes of the past." 6 months after the memorial's opening, the Heritage Inn received an award from the local city hall as Business of the Year in the Social Responsibility category. During the ceremony, the mayor highlighted the employee wellness policies and the positive impact the hotel had on the community. The Heritage Inn is an example of how a business can grow without losing its humanity, he said in his speech. Robert invited Amanda to join him on stage to accept the award. "This achievement isn't mine," he said into the microphone. "It belongs to our entire team, led by our general manager, Amanda Parker, daughter of William Parker, a man who dedicated his life to making this hotel special." The audience gave a standing ovation. Robert saw Mrs. Catherine in the front row, moved to tears. After the ceremony, there was a reception at the hotel itself. Robert watched as the staff chatted animatedly with local officials and business people, proud to be part of that team. "Mr. Harrison," Amanda called, approaching him with a tall, friendly young man. "This is Nathan, my boyfriend, whom I'd mentioned." "Nice to meet you, Nathan. Amanda told me you work in healthcare." "Yes, sir, I'm a nurse, and I'd like to say I really admire what you've built here. Amanda always comes home talking about the hotel's projects, about how you take care of the employees. It's inspiring." "How about we discuss that preventive health program?" Robert suggested. "I'd be happy to help." During the conversation, Robert noticed that Nathan truly understood and supported Amanda's dedication. He was happy to see they made a harmonious couple. The evening was perfect, until something unexpected happened. An older gentleman with white hair approached Robert. "Excuse me, Mr. Harrison. My name is Dr. Frederick Greenfield. I'm a retired physician and have been a frequent guest at this hotel for over 20 years. Nice to meet you, doctor. How can I help you?" "Actually, I'd like to make a proposal. I've followed this hotel's evolution over the years and have been impressed by the recent changes." "What kind of proposal?" "I represent a group of investors interested in creating a chain of family-friendly hotels across the countryside of New York City. We'd like to use your management model as a reference." Robert glanced at Amanda, who was paying attention to the conversation. "Doctor, we're honored by your interest, but the Heritage Inn is a family project. We don't have expansion plans at the moment." "I completely understand. But what about a consulting partnership? You'd help us implement your people-centered management practices in other hotels without losing the uniqueness of what you have here." The proposal was intriguing. Robert and Amanda exchanged looks. "We can discuss this in more detail next week," Robert said. "Perfect, I'll leave my card." As Dr. Greenfield walked away, Amanda remarked, "It'd be a way to spread the values we believe in to other places." Exactly. Imagine how many employees at other hotels could benefit. And it'd be a new revenue stream to invest in more improvements here. Would you be willing to lead a project like this? With you as my partner, I'd take on any challenge. The party went on late into the night. When all the guests had left, Robert and Amanda stayed at the reception desk organizing the final details. "Amanda, can I confess something to you?" "Of course." "A few months ago, when I found out about the envelopes and room 307, I seriously considered firing you." "I imagined that. But do you know what changed my mind?" "What?" "Something Miss Betty told me. She said you had promised not to abandon the hotel. That made me realize anyone who makes such a promise must have very special reasons. And I did. And now I understand what they were. Your father wasn't just an employee. He was a guardian of this place's soul. And now we're the guardians." "Exactly." They stood in silence for a few minutes, admiring the hotel's elegant lobby, softly lit by the early morning lights. "Robert," said Amanda, using his first name without Mr. for the first time. "Yes? Thank you for giving the truth a chance. Thank you for keeping the essence of this place alive until I understood its importance." 6 months later, Robert and Amanda had developed a consulting program already being implemented in 5 hotels across upstate New York. The success was such that they received invitations to speak at hospitality conferences. During one of these talks in New York City, Amanda spoke about the importance of seeing employees as people, not just human resources. When a company treats its employees well, they naturally treat the customers well, she told an audience of over 300 people. It's a virtuous cycle that generates remarkable results. In the audience, Robert watched proudly as Amanda shared her experiences. She had become a reference in the field without losing the humility and values that always defined her. After the presentation, they were approached by tourism journalists. "Would you like to participate in a feature on family-run hotels in the United States?" one reporter asked. "It would be an honor," Robert replied. The article was published in a national magazine and brought even more recognition to the Heritage Inn. But what moved Robert and Amanda the most were the readers' comments about how their story had inspired changes in other family businesses. A year and a half after that first anonymous letter that changed everything, Robert planned a special surprise for Amanda. "I need you to come with me to the notary today," he said mysteriously. "What for?" "You'll see." At the notary, Robert presented documents officially making Amanda a minority partner of the hotel, entitled to 20% of the profits, exactly as her grandfather had wished in the handwritten will. "Robert, this is too much," Amanda said, emotional. "It's only fair, and there's one more thing." He showed another document. "I'm creating the William Parker Foundation, which will offer hospitality scholarships to young people from working-class families. Do you want to be the director?" Amanda couldn't hold back her tears. "My father would be so proud. He will be. Wherever he is, he will be." 3 months later, the William Parker Foundation was inaugurated with a touching ceremony. Mrs. Catherine, now fully recovered, was the project's patron. "William always said education was the greatest gift we could give young people," she said in her speech. "This foundation will make many dreams come true." During the event, unexpected news arrived. Victor Thompson had sent a letter apologizing for everything he had done. In it, he admitted he had always envied William Parker's reputation and that his actions were driven by resentment. He asked for forgiveness and wished Amanda and Robert success. "What will you do?" asked Nathan, who was now also part of the hotel team as the occupational health coordinator. "We'll forgive," Amanda said. "Holding on to grudges only hurts the one who holds them. And we'll send a reply wishing him success too," Robert added. The act of forgiveness was yet another example of the maturity both had developed throughout their journey. 2 years after the story began, the Heritage Inn had become a national benchmark for humanized management. Amanda and Robert were regular guests at corporate events, where they shared their experiences. But the most special moment came when Nathan proposed to Amanda during a romantic evening at the William Parker Memorial. "I want to ask for your father's blessing," he said, kneeling before William's photo, "and I promise to take good care of your daughter." Robert was asked to be the best man at the wedding, which took place in the hotel's garden, a simple but deeply moving ceremony. During the celebration, Robert made a special toast to Amanda and Nathan, who proved that true love grows alongside those we admire and respect, and to William Parker, who, though not physically here, remains an inspiration to us all. The party was a success, with staff, regular guests and friends celebrating together until dawn. 6 months after the wedding, Amanda discovered she was pregnant. The news brought immense joy to the entire hotel family. "We're getting a new team member," Robert joked when he heard. "Only if they want to," Amanda replied, laughing. "I won't force anyone into hospitality. But if they do, they'll find a company that values people above all else." During Amanda's pregnancy, Robert took on more operational responsibilities so she could focus on her health. But she remained active in strategic management and developing new projects. One such project was creating an internship program for hospitality students, where young people could learn the values of humanized management firsthand. "We want to raise a new generation of hoteliers who understand financial success and social responsibility can go hand in hand," Amanda explained during the program's launch. The first group of interns was selected from scholarship recipients at the William Parker Foundation, completing a virtuous cycle of opportunity. On the day Amanda and Nathan's first child was born, a girl named Faith, Robert organized a small celebration at the hotel. "Faith Parker Thompson," Mrs. Catherine said, cradling her granddaughter. "A name that sums up everything we've lived through these past years." "Hope for a better future," Robert agreed. "Hope that the next generations will find a fairer world," Nathan added. Amanda, still recovering, watched with emotion as her daughter was welcomed with so much love by the family she had chosen. "Dad," she whispered, looking at William Parker's photo on the hospital room wall, "your granddaughter is here, and she'll grow up knowing what a wonderful man you were." 5 years after Faith's birth, the Heritage Inn had become a case study in business and tourism schools across the country. Robert and Amanda were invited to write a book about their experiences. From Suspicion to Partnership, How Honesty Transformed a Hotel and Two Families became a bestseller in the business genre, inspiring thousands of entrepreneurs across the United States. At the book launch, a journalist asked Robert, "If you could go back in time, would you do anything differently?" Robert looked at Amanda, who stood beside him, holding Faith. "Maybe I would have tried to know my employees better from the start, but I wouldn't change a single step of the journey we took. Every hardship, every misunderstanding, every moment of tension was necessary to bring us where we are today." "And what about you, Amanda?" asked the journalist. "I wouldn't change a single second. Everything we've been through has taught me that honesty always pays off, even when it seems like the harder path." Today, 10 years after that first anonymous letter, the Heritage Inn is run by the partnership between Robert and Amanda, who have become true friends as well as business partners. The William Parker Foundation has trained over 200 young people in hospitality courses, many of whom now work at partner hotels across the country. Faith, now 5 years old, plays in the hotel hallways just like Amanda did as a child, knowing every staff member by name and learning early on the values of respect and care for others. Mrs. Catherine, at 78, still visits the hotel regularly, now as a proud grandmother and unofficial consultant for matters involving the well-being of older employees. Nathan has expanded the occupational health program and now oversees wellness initiatives across the entire partner hotel network. The memorial for William Parker welcomes visits from students and professionals in the field who come to learn the story of dedication that inspired this entire transformation. And Victor Thompson? He managed to rebuild his life in another city where he opened a small business and learned to value honest relationships. 2 years ago, he sent a Christmas card to Robert and Amanda, thanking them for their forgiveness and sharing his personal changes. One Sunday afternoon, Robert was in the hotel garden playing with Faith when the little girl surprised him with a question. "Uncle Robert, why do you and Mommy work so much?" "Because we love what we do, sweetheart." "But why do you love it?" Robert thought for a few seconds, searching for an answer she could understand. "You know how you feel happy when you help someone?" "Yeah." "Well, our job is to help the people who come here feel good, and also to take care of the people who work with us like one big family." "Like Grandpa William used to?" "Exactly like Grandpa William used to." Faith smiled and went back to playing, but Robert kept thinking about her question. Really, why did they work so much? The answer came naturally, because they discovered that work with purpose wasn't just work. It was a way to make a difference in people's lives. When Amanda came over to call them for dinner, Robert shared his thoughts with her. "It's true," Amanda agreed. "My father always said that when you do what you love with people you admire, you're not working, you're living. And we're living fully. We are. And building a legacy that goes far beyond the hotel. A legacy of values, of genuine relationships, of second chances, and of forgiveness." When night fell, Robert took his usual evening walk through the hotel. He greeted the night reception staff, checked that everything was in order, and always ended at William Parker's memorial. "William," he said, as he always did, "thank you for raising such a special daughter. She honors your name every day." That night, he felt something different, as if he'd truly received a response. Maybe it was just his imagination, but he sensed William Parker approved of everything they'd built together. When he got home, Robert found a message from Amanda on his phone. "Thank you for believing in our family when no one else did. You changed our lives forever." He replied, "Thank you for keeping alive the values we almost lost. You changed my life too." And so 10 years after an anonymous letter full of lies, 2 families had become one, united by truth, forgiveness, and the certainty that doing good always pays off. The Heritage Inn remained a special place, not just for its facilities, but for the soul its guardians had preserved and strengthened over the years. A soul built on dedication, honesty, compassion, and love, exactly as William Parker had taught it should be. End of story. Now tell me what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave a heartfelt comment below. Do you believe Robert made the right decision by forgiving and giving a second chance? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like this video and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories.